What if the greatest manipulator in history walked into your workplace, your family, or your social media feed today? You probably would not recognize him. That is exactly why Niccolo Machiavelli still matters. His ideas were never really about kings alone. They were about human nature, hidden motives, and the invisible games people play every single day. In this video, you will uncover 5 timeless rules of power that still shape careers, relationships, politics, and influence, often without anyone noticing. Before we begin, comment the words, "I see the game," to declare that you are ready to look beyond appearances. Then subscribe, like this video, and stay until the very end, because the final insight is the one most people spend their entire lives avoiding, even while it quietly controls every decision they make. You may discover that your greatest enemy has always been yourself, without ever questioning its presence. To understand why Machiavelli still provokes fascination and fear, you must return to Renaissance Italy, a world fractured by betrayal, shifting alliances, assassinations, and relentless political survival. Cities rose and collapsed through deception as often as military strength. Watching this chaos unfold, Niccolo Machiavelli reached a disturbing conclusion. People rarely act according to virtue when power is available. His observations became Time's The Prince, not as a celebration of cruelty, but as an unflinching study of human behavior. For centuries, many dismissed his work as immoral because it exposed uncomfortable realities that societies preferred to hide behind ideals. Yet modern psychology, behavioral economics, and evolutionary science reveal similar patterns. Status, reputation, reciprocity, fear, and self-interest still influence decisions beneath civilized appearances. The battlefield changed. Today it exists in offices, friendships, elections, boardrooms, and digital platforms. Understanding these hidden dynamics does not corrupt your character. It protects your freedom from invisible manipulation. Now that you understand where Machiavelli's ideas emerged, it is time to uncover the laws beneath the legend. Each one reveals a hidden mechanism shaping modern influence, ambition, trust, and deception. Together, they expose the psychological architecture behind power that most people never consciously recognize before it shapes their lives. The first law is simple. Never reveal your complete intentions. People instinctively defend themselves against certainty, but they relax around ambiguity. When your destination appears obvious, others organize resistance. When your motives remain partially concealed, they fill the gaps with their own assumptions. Modern psychology calls this predictive processing. The brain constantly invents explanations before evidence arrives. A coworker who quietly listens often learns more than the loud expert demanding attention. The same pattern governs negotiations, friendships, and leadership. You do not deceive by inventing lies. You simply refuse to surrender information before timing favors you. Silence becomes strategic space where impatient minds expose themselves. Observe who rushes to interpret your restraint. They frequently reveal fears, desires, alliances, and weaknesses without realizing it. Master your impulse to explain everything. Clarity delivered too early creates unnecessary enemies. Clarity delivered deliberately creates enduring influence because patience attracts information, while haste destroys leverage. The second law demands that you protect your reputation before protecting your arguments. Most people waste enormous energy trying to prove they are right, while truly powerful individuals understand that perception shapes reality long before facts receive attention. Once people decide who you are, they unconsciously interpret every future action through that identity. This is known as the halo effect, a cognitive shortcut influencing judgment across business, politics, and personal relationships. Machiavelli understood this centuries before psychologists named it. Your character becomes a strategic asset when you consistently project reliability, emotional stability, and disciplined confidence. Avoid emotional outbursts that permanently redefine how others categorize you. Every interaction quietly contributes to your public image. Instead of winning every disagreement, strengthen the reputation that makes future victories easier. Influence grows naturally when people trust your presence before evaluating your words. Reputation quietly negotiates opportunities long before you ever enter the room. The third law teaches that dependence creates stronger loyalty than gratitude. Gratitude fades because human beings rapidly adapt to benefits they once considered extraordinary. Dependence operates differently. When someone believes their success, security, or emotional stability partly relies upon you, they unconsciously protect that relationship. This principle appears uncomfortable because modern culture celebrates independence while quietly rewarding strategic interdependence. Think about influential mentors, respected executives, or trusted advisors. Their greatest strength rarely comes from giving everything away immediately. Instead, they provide continuing value that encourages lasting connection. Behavioral psychology describes this through reinforcement and expectation. Consistent value delivered over time builds stronger bonds than dramatic generosity offered once. Never confuse manipulation with exploitation. The goal is not creating weakness, but becoming genuinely useful in ways that cannot easily be replaced. Ask yourself what unique capability, insight, or perspective only you consistently provide. Lasting influence belongs to those whose absence becomes immediately noticeable. The fourth law reminds you that emotions spread faster than logic. Every room contains invisible emotional currents shaping decisions before rational thinking fully begins. Neuroscience suggests that people unconsciously mirror expressions, tone, posture, and confidence through powerful social mechanisms. Machiavelli recognized this reality without scientific terminology. Leaders who remain calm during uncertainty become psychological anchors for everyone watching. Those who panic silently authorize collective fear. Before attempting to persuade anyone, regulate your own emotional state. Confidence cannot simply be spoken. It must be transmitted. This explains why identical words produce different results depending upon who delivers them. Your internal condition becomes part of your message. Practice slowing your breathing before difficult conversations. Observe rather than immediately reacting to provocation. Emotional discipline weakens attempts at manipulation because impulsive responses reveal predictable patterns others can exploit. The person controlling the emotional climate usually controls the eventual outcome, even when speaking the fewest words overall. The fifth law reveals that people expose themselves when they believe they are leading the conversation. Human beings naturally enjoy demonstrating intelligence, sharing opinions, and explaining their experiences. Rather than dominating discussions, encourage others to speak with thoughtful questions and genuine curiosity. Every answer provides valuable information about motivations, fears, priorities, and hidden ambitions. Skilled negotiators often learn more through silence than endless persuasion. Modern interviewing techniques, intelligence gathering, and therapeutic conversations all rely upon this principle. Listening with strategic attention uncovers patterns invisible to impatient observers. Resist the temptation to interrupt simply because you recognize an opening. Allow pauses to breathe. Many people become uncomfortable with silence and voluntarily reveal far more than intended. This law is not about tricking others. It is about understanding human nature deeply enough to recognize that people willingly disclose their inner world when they feel respected, heard, and psychologically safe. Understanding power requires looking beneath visible actions into the hidden mechanics driving every decision. These deeper patterns reveal why intelligent people repeatedly surrender influence. Watch carefully, because each mechanism quietly shapes your relationships, ambitions, opportunities, and future, long before consequences become obvious to anyone around you, including yourself every day. The first hidden mechanic is selective unpredictability. Humans quickly adapt to patterns, making consistent behavior surprisingly vulnerable to exploitation. When people believe they fully understand your reactions, they begin calculating around them. Occasionally changing your timing, methods, or responses forces others back into observation instead of assumption. Behavioral scientists call this prediction error. The moment expectations collapse and attention dramatically increases. Effective leaders use this sparingly, never randomly. Unpredictability without purpose creates chaos. Strategic variation creates respect. Consider successful negotiators who occasionally decline obvious victories because preserving long-term leverage matters more than immediate wins. Their restraint appears mysterious, encouraging opponents to reconsider every future move. Your goal is not becoming impossible to read, but impossible to reduce into a simple formula. When people cannot confidently predict you, they hesitate, reassess, and expose their own assumptions before acting. That hesitation grants you precious psychological space for wiser decisions every single time. The second hidden mechanic is emotional scarcity. Constant approval loses value because the human mind discounts what remains endlessly available. Respect often grows through measured restraint rather than relentless reassurance. This does not mean becoming cold or cruel. It means refusing to distribute attention without intention. Scarcity increases perceived significance across economics, relationships, and leadership because people instinctively value limited resources. When your time, praise, and commitment are earned instead of automatically granted, others evaluate them more carefully. Healthy boundaries communicate confidence more effectively than endless accommodation. People frequently mistake availability for obligation until limits redefine expectations. By protecting your attention, you also protect your judgment from manipulation disguised as urgency. Every unnecessary yes quietly weakens your ability to deliver meaningful commitments where they truly matter. Disciplined restraint teaches others how to treat you, while preserving the inner freedom required for strategic thinking under relentless pressure every single day ahead. The third hidden mechanic is controlled perception. Reality influences people, yet perception usually arrives first and quietly frames reality itself. Every introduction, reputation, and first impression creates mental filters that become surprisingly difficult to remove. Confirmation bias encourages observers to notice evidence supporting their existing conclusions while ignoring contradictions. Wise strategists therefore shape context before presenting arguments. They understand that facts rarely travel alone. They arrive wrapped inside expectations. Instead of desperately correcting every misunderstanding, patiently establish consistent patterns that naturally reshape perception over time. Authentic credibility compounds through repeated demonstrations of competence, integrity, and emotional discipline. Once trust exists, your words require less effort to persuade. Without trust, even obvious truths encounter suspicion. Protecting perception is therefore not vanity. It is the disciplined management of the psychological doorway through which every future action will inevitably be interpreted. Master that doorway, and resistance often weakens before conflict even begins consciously. The fourth hidden mechanic is voluntary disclosure. People reveal extraordinary information when they experience genuine curiosity instead of visible interrogation. Direct pressure activates psychological defenses, but thoughtful questions encourage reflective conversation. Skilled investigators, therapists, and negotiators understand that silence frequently produces richer answers than relentless speaking. The human mind dislikes unfinished moments and instinctively attempts to complete them. Allowing comfortable pauses invites deeper revelations because many individuals rush to relieve silence with additional details. Listening, therefore, becomes an active, strategic discipline rather than passive politeness. You notice contradictions, emotional shifts, recurring themes, and subtle motivations hidden beneath polished stories. Most manipulation succeeds because nobody truly listens until damage appears. Developing patient attention transforms ordinary conversations into remarkable opportunities for understanding. Information freely offered carries greater reliability than information extracted through force, making attentive presence one of the most underestimated forms of lasting influence. Few disciplines reward patience more consistently today. The fifth hidden mechanic is disciplined detachment. Manipulators succeed most easily when they control your emotional reactions instead of your circumstances. Anger, desperation, envy, and wounded pride narrow perception until impulsive choices feel unavoidable. Psychological research consistently shows that heightened emotional arousal reduces careful reasoning while increasing predictable behavior. Machiavelli recognized this dynamic through observation alone. The person who remains internally composed gains freedom unavailable to everyone chasing immediate emotional relief. Detachment does not eliminate compassion or conviction. Instead, it creates enough mental distance to distinguish temporary feelings from permanent consequences. Before responding to provocation, ask whether your reaction serves your long-term objective or merely satisfies a passing impulse. Strategic patience often appears weak during the moment, yet becomes unmistakably powerful afterward. Master yourself first. Because every external victory ultimately begins with internal authority. Those who cannot govern themselves eventually become predictable instruments inside someone else's carefully designed strategy instead. Knowledge changes nothing until it becomes disciplined behavior. These rituals transform abstract strategy into daily practice, allowing you to cultivate quiet influence without unnecessary conflict. Applied consistently, they strengthen perception, emotional control, patience, and judgment until power becomes less about forcing outcomes and more about shaping them naturally through deliberate choices. The first ritual is practicing intentional silence every single day. Most people speak to relieve internal pressure rather than communicate meaningful ideas. Begin observing conversations without rushing to fill every pause. Count several seconds before answering important questions, allowing yourself time to think while encouraging others to reveal more. This simple discipline strengthens emotional control and weakens impulsive reactions. You will notice that many individuals continue speaking when silence appears, often disclosing valuable information they never planned to share. Silence also protects you from unnecessary commitments made under social pressure. Instead of defending every opinion, calmly evaluate whether speaking actually advances your objective. The habit feels uncomfortable because modern culture rewards constant expression, yet genuine influence rarely depends upon endless words. With practice, your silence develops weight, making every statement appear intentional, measured, and increasingly difficult for others to ignore or underestimate during important decisions. The second ritual is conducting a nightly review of every meaningful interaction. Before sleeping, mentally revisit conversations, negotiations, disagreements, and unexpected encounters. Ask yourself what emotions influenced your decisions, what assumptions proved inaccurate, and what hidden motivations appeared beneath people's words. This exercise gradually trains your mind to recognize recurring behavioral patterns instead of isolated events. Strategic awareness grows through reflection, not speed. Record your observations inside a journal, focusing especially on moments where your emotions almost controlled your judgment. Over weeks, these notes reveal predictable triggers that others could exploit if left unnoticed. They also expose strengths worth developing further. Many successful leaders maintain reflective practices because experience alone teaches little without deliberate analysis. The goal is not criticizing yourself, but improving your perception one interaction at a time. Consistent reflection transforms ordinary experience into accumulated strategic wisdom that compounds quietly throughout your entire life with remarkable consistency. The third ritual is deliberately limiting emotional reactions during moments of pressure. Whenever conflict emerges, pause before responding and redirect your attention toward your long-term objective instead of immediate satisfaction. Slow your breathing, relax unnecessary physical tension, and silently ask what outcome truly serves your future interests. This brief interruption weakens impulsive behavior while strengthening disciplined judgment. Emotional regulation resembles physical training because progress appears through repeated practice rather than dramatic breakthroughs. Begin with everyday frustrations such as delays, criticism, interruptions, or disagreements. Each successful response strengthens your ability to remain composed during larger challenges. Over time, people begin associating your presence with stability instead of unpredictability. This reputation alone discourages manipulation because emotional leverage becomes increasingly ineffective. Mastering your reactions does not suppress humanity. It expands freedom by ensuring your decisions arise from conscious intention rather than temporary emotional storms created by circumstances or the ambitions of others seeking influence over you. The fourth ritual is protecting your reputation through disciplined consistency rather than dramatic displays. Every promise you keep, every commitment you honor, and every calm response during adversity quietly strengthens the identity people assign to you. Reputation grows through repeated evidence, never isolated performances. Resist the temptation to impress everyone immediately. Instead, focus on becoming reliably competent across months and years. Consistency creates psychological trust because people naturally prefer predictable excellence over occasional brilliance. Evaluate whether your daily habits reinforce the image you hope others develop. Small contradictions accumulate until they weaken credibility. Likewise, small demonstrations of discipline steadily increase confidence in your judgment. Remember that reputation continues working when you leave the room. Opportunities often appear because someone confidently speaks your name before you even arrive. Guard this invisible asset carefully, since rebuilding damaged credibility always demands far greater effort than preserving it through disciplined conduct from the beginning. The fifth ritual is choosing your battles with deliberate precision instead of reacting to every challenge. Not every disagreement deserves your attention, and not every criticism requires your defense. Strategic individuals understand that attention is a finite resource. Every unnecessary conflict consumes emotional energy, time, and credibility that could strengthen more meaningful objectives. Before engaging, ask whether winning this particular moment advances your larger purpose or merely satisfies pride. Many manipulative people deliberately provoke emotional responses because distraction weakens judgment. Refusing insignificant battles denies them that advantage. This discipline also sharpens your ability to identify opportunities worthy of decisive action. When you finally choose to speak firmly or act boldly, your response carries greater authority because it appears rare and intentional. The strongest position is often reserved for those who conserve their energy until circumstances genuinely justify decisive engagement, allowing patience itself to become an unmistakable expression of quiet strategic power. Power was never Machiavelli's ultimate lesson. His greatest insight was that people who fail to understand human nature inevitably become controlled by it. You have explored the rules, the hidden mechanics, and the daily rituals that transform awareness into quiet influence. The choice now belongs to you. Will you continue reacting to the games around you, or will you begin seeing them before they unfold? If this journey challenged your perspective, subscribe to Hidden Oasis and join a community seeking timeless wisdom, psychological mastery, and strategic clarity. Like this video, share it with someone ready to awaken, and comment, "I see the game," because true power begins the moment illusion loses its authority over your mind, your choices, and your future. Keep questioning, keep observing, keep mastering yourself, because every unseen victory within eventually becomes an undeniable victory without. Until next time, seek wisdom before power, and power will follow.